I started a class about graphic design called digital production my freshman year. Not because it was the elective of my choice, but because I put off scheduling with Mr. Anderson for so long that it was the only option left. So, reluctantly, I went to class the first day, did as I was told, and found out it was something that I actually loved. So much that I intend to pursue it as a career, and based all of my major college decisions off of whether or not they had a good graphic design program. I was not always the creative mind I am today, though, believe it or not. It took 4 long years for me to learn who I am as an artist and gain confidence in what I do. My first project that I did in digital production was a simple photo retouch, or supposed to be simple, but this is how mine turned out. When Coach Tree told me to define the eyes and make the face more symmetrical, get rid of the dark spots, and remove all the blemishes, I thought, no big deal, it'd be easy. The way for me, in my mind, to make a face more symmetrical was to copy one side of the face and just paste it to the other. So, of course I chose the lighter side, because why not just kill 2 birds with 1 stone and get rid of the dark spots while I'm at it? Now, the only thing I had left to do was remove the blemishes, but since it was so early, the only tool I'd really learned at this point was the smudge tool, so I basically just smudged the surface of the chin off and called it a day. This was September of my freshman year. The rest of my freshman year went about the same. We did simple projects like the photo retouch, such as photo recreation, photography, picture edits, and how to do proper cutouts. We also did a lot of tutorials because it was not only my first year, but my teacher's first year in the class as well, so it was a learning experience for us all. We also worked more to take pictures and use them in our pieces instead of just getting pictures from offline. This was the year that I learned a bunch of the basic techniques that I use to this day and have acquired over time. So now that I had a lot more than just the smudge tool under my belt, I felt prepared to do what I had to do and ready to take on whatever came my way. It wasn't until my sophomore year that I started taking on bigger projects, the first one being a field hockey poster. I had no idea where to start, though, so Coach Tree told me to look online for inspiration. I found a picture that I really liked that had a cool textured background. I decided to use that, but the only problem was there were people on top. But I thought, no big deal, we did a tutorial over that on how to remove certain aspects from an image. This was the final product of that tutorial. I know, it looks like a beach, but beforehand, there were kids on that beach. You use a tool called a clone stamp, and you select the surrounding area of whatever it is you want to make disappear, and you layer it on top so that it becomes hidden underneath. It sounds like a complicated process, but the gist of it is there used to be kids on the beach, and now there isn't. So I thought, if I could remove kids from a beach, it shouldn't be that much different to remove a group of people off a textured background. But I was so wrong. It took me an entire week just to create a backdrop because I stamped tiny little squares over a 17-inch wide backdrop. This is how it turned out. By the end of it, I hated how it looked. I just put a drop shadow on, dropped the people on top, and gave it to somebody else to finish the schedule. You can really tell how over it I was because about half of the girls on the poster are missing their feet, and I didn't even bother to correct it. So, nonetheless, I gave it to my teacher, I was congratulated on my creativity, and it was produced. Yes, I did struggle, but it was definitely better than my first project. My sophomore year went about the same as my freshman year, but something was different. My teachers saw potential in me, so they pushed me to work harder in my pieces, and it showed in my projects. I learned and had a better sense of spacing. I found out which color schemes attract the eyes of the viewers, and I improved most of my techniques. I got a lot better at my cutouts, and I learned not to just lob off people's body parts because it was a lot easier than just paying attention to detail and taking my time. It wasn't until my junior year that I really ran with it. I created 2 sports posters that were much better than anything that I'd done in the past. I also got the opportunity to do such projects like the Pink Out promotion for that year, the senior dinner flyer for that year and all the years after that, and graphics to promote Oakridge. It was also that year that I was approached by both my teachers, Coach Tree and Mr. Beck, about doing this past the classroom. At this point, I had no idea that this was even a career. I just thought it was a hobby. So to find out this was something I could do for the rest of my life and that I actually enjoyed was extremely eye-opening. It showed me a world of opportunities that I did not even know was out there. This is what made me decide to really push myself my senior year. I started applying to colleges that I knew were good for graphic designers. I kept working on my in-class projects, and I also created the posters for this year's basketball season and the cheer season. It looks a lot better than my first ones, but it wasn't that hard of a concept. It's just I'd had such more time to work on the things I needed to, and I'd acquired so many more skills that it was a lot easier to make what I saw in my head a reality. I also posed and took all the pictures for the posters, which was something I had never done before, so that was a huge step up for me. I also got the opportunity to create the save the dates for my sister's upcoming wedding. My mom says that it was because I'm the maid of honor, so it's my responsibility, but I know it's only because I'll work for free. However, I appreciated the vote of confidence, and it was amazing to be able to show my work to people besides just the people in my class. This also inspired me to create my own graduation announcements, create spirit graphics for Oakridge throughout the year, upload all of my projects onto an online portfolio called Behance, and even create and send in a copy of my own digital resume to all the colleges that I was applying to. Everything was starting to come together, and I was looking forward to the future. At this time, I decided that I was going to go to ASU, Arizona State. I'd put down a deposit, and I was ready to call myself a Sun Devil. However, my teacher, Coach Tree, had somebody come to us from SCAD, the Savannah College of Art and Design, and talk about his experience as a student. He talked about the campus life and how amazing it is for anybody who's interested in the arts and how it was like being a student at SCAD. It took a 3-minute long promotional video and I was hooked. He barely had time to walk out the door before I opened a web page and started working on my application. It was safe to say that my parents were not too happy with my sudden change of heart, but because I'm blessed with the parents I have, they worked with me to make the changes that were necessary to finish and complete my application within the week. I found out 2 weeks later that I had been accepted. I actually found out through a phone call that was unknown, which I almost declined because I thought I was a telemarketer, but thankfully it was the weekend and I was still in bed, so I had nothing better to do, so I thought, why not? I was surprised to find out, however, that it was a woman on the phone saying I'd been accepted to the Savannah College of Art and Design. I was so shocked and still a little tired that my first response was, wait, I've been accepted? Not exactly how I wanted it to come off, but thankfully she was understanding and she knew what I meant. If you've never heard of SCAD, it's located off the coast of Savannah, Georgia. All of the dorm rooms are old hotel buildings that have been renovated, and the campus pretty much encompasses the whole town. That's where I plan on spending the next 4 years of my education. Graphic design is the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's helped me figure out who I am as a person, understand the way I think, and know which creative outlet is best for me. I now know that I am a stubborn, indecisive computer geek. But I also know that this means I am not easily swayed from my decisions. I always look for new ways to tweak the original, and I'm never happy with my first draft. But I also know that this means I'd much rather produce something on a computer and show it to you than I would, let's say, make a speech about something that I'm passionate about and say it aloud. But either way, I know this about myself because of the amazing opportunities that I've had over the past 4 years that most people aren't fortunate enough to get. I also know this because I've had the best teacher that pushed me to see more in myself than I knew was possible. I now look to the future unafraid of what it might bring, but instead excited to learn more and grow as an artist as well as a person. Thank you.